Do you think at this point that she may have done something illegal?
Well, Bob, I don't know. If you were Secretary of State, would you set up a server and put it in your own house and then ask your top aides only to use that and only use your attorney to determine what is that of the public or not? We have the federal act when it comes to how to use this. I think she brings a lot of doubt with her own use, but she has the ability to clear this up. She has a responsibility to tell the truth to the American public, and she can release them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's just, it's incredible, isn't it? She's not going to clear it up on her own. You know that, and I know that. Joining us now is William Jacobson, professor of law at Cornell Law School, director of security law, the Security Law Clinic at Cornell Law as well. Welcome back, sir. So today we find out that from the New York Times that Clinton's top aides at times corresponded with her about State Department matters from their personal email accounts. Now, didn't she tell us at her press conference that whenever, anything was done, whenever she communicated with her subordinates at State, she would always make sure to send all those correspondence to the State Department address of those people so they would all be captured. And now we find out that these communications took place personal to personal, so she wasn't telling the truth about that either.
It's absolutely shocking that a Clinton explanation is not holding up to scrutiny. I'm shocked. This is why it's always like peeling back an onion, and you never know if you get to the center of it. And that's what this whole explanation has been. First, she's just using personal email. Then she's got her own server. Then the 30,000 emails were discarded. Then they weren't reviewed. Then they were reviewed. Now this whole explanation that supposedly they were all captured on the government system is doubly not true, because the government didn't have proper record-keeping mechanisms in place while she was Secretary of State. And as you're indicating, she was emailing with people who weren't on the government system. This is completely ridiculous.
It is completely ridiculous at least, and probably a lot worse at worst. But it's just incomprehensible, because she also, I believe, she let her whoever it was, her staff, whoever those are, go through these emails to determine what was relevant, what wasn't relevant, what was classified. If her staff saw classified emails during their, going over all the emails, isn't that a breach of law as well?
Well, then we're going to get into a whole definition of what does classified mean. Clearly, as Secretary of State, she has to have been communicating about matters that were classified. Whether there was a classified stamp on a document sent to her, maybe not. We don't know. But the whole point is she was giving access to what is private. If it's not classified, it's certainly highly sensitive government information to people who may not even have security clearances. That's why this thing is just going to go on and on and on, and we're going to go through excuse after excuse. And really, the Republicans in Congress have to keep after it, because we don't know what she actually did, and they need to figure out a way to get a hold of that server.
All right, let's talk about very quickly what's going on here. And it's just like you're watching this wouldn't work as a movie, because it's so unbelievable. Not just that we're reaching out to the murderous regime of Iran to make friends with them while they still kill Americans and perpetuate terror. We fear terror in this country. We watch terror take place all over the world, and we sit there and we mourn and we're outraged, and yet the biggest supporters of terror, we're sitting down at the table and saying, just sign this and we won't care about the terror anymore. That's one thing. But for the Ayatollah, and they've done this before, but I'm glad he did it yesterday, he gets up in front of a rally and leads a chant of death to America, and we're still talking to these people. Bibi Netanyahu says something very innocuous at an election fight, and he is the focal point of the media. He incurs the wrath of Obama. It's a bad movie. It wouldn't even get any ratings.
It really is a fairly disgusting situation, the way that the White House is treating Israel and is treating Netanyahu. They are trying to exploit a vague statement he made, which actually, if you go over it about a two-state solution, was completely consistent with things he said before and things he said after. and they are using that as a pretext. This is an administration that is really truly shameless in the way it treats our allies and versus the way it treats our worst enemies.
You know, I've had more and more people say, Michael Ledeen was with us earlier. You're probably aware of his work. He said that this is what Obama shares the criticism. I'm sorry. Yeah, Obama shares Iran's criticism of our own foreign policy and believes that he is the logical ally to Iran.
Well, everything he's done is consistent with that. You remember in 2009 when the people rose up, Barack Obama, who can never stop speaking, who can never stop giving a speech, was silent.
Yeah, that was the Green. I hate to interrupt, William, but we're out of time. But that was the Green movement that he did not support. Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. We'll talk to you soon. William Jacobson, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, we'll have author of The Thin Green Line, The Money Secrets of the Super Wealthy. Paul Sullivan will be here. We did this interview a few days ago. But first, they say, let's take a look back at Neil Armstrong's first steps on the moon with this hour's American Moment. Robert Klein once said he should have said Coca-Cola. He didn't.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
In 1961, newly elected President John Fitzgerald Kennedy announced to the Congress and to all of mankind America's intention to send man to the moon. Previously restricted to the realm of science fiction, the president's commitment set in motion an unprecedented effort to fulfill one of man's oldest dreams. The obstacles were monumental, not the least of which was to create an energy source capable of sending a manned spacecraft to the moon. The answer stood 363 feet tall and delivered 8 million pounds of thrust, making the Saturn V the most powerful rocket ever built. On July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11, carrying astronauts Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Edwin Buzz Aldrin, circled the moon until Armstrong and Aldrin entered the lunar module and readied themselves for their historic landing. With just 20 seconds of fuel left, disaster was narrowly averted when Armstrong had to manually fly the Eagle away from unexpected boulders to a smoother and less dangerous landing zone. Although the imagery was poor, Neil Armstrong's words came through loud and clear.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
However, the flight was not without controversy. Buzz Aldrin, a devout Christian, administered himself communion on the moon. Since NASA was already fighting a lawsuit from atheist Madalyn Murray O'Hair, who objected to the earlier Apollo 8 crew reading from the book of Genesis, Aldrin's communion was kept a secret from the public. Not so secret was the plaque bolted to the descent ladder on the lunar module. It was left on the moon to greet future visitors and reads, "We came in peace for all mankind." For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this is an American Moment.